Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. And this is the second episode of The Rest. I'm your host, Aris Amatakos, and I'm joined by Terry. Terry, how you going, mate?
Mate, I'm good. 2 rounds in the book. Happy to have life back.
2-0. How good's that? How good's that?
Just got to soak it up, enjoy it while we still have no L's next to our name. Got to enjoy it while it's here.
2012 was the last time, and we went 3-0, and then we fell off a cliff. So hopefully, history doesn't repeat itself.
Hopefully, that was the best time I can remember being a Carlton supporter. It was just the best feeling ever, even though it was only 3-0. So hopefully we can go a bit more than that and have a better year than what we did back then.
Yeah, I think that was 2013 was the season where I really remember it. So I just missed it, like really sticking in the memory books. But hopefully now we can repeat that to some extent, but obviously make finals this time. But it was a maybe not, obviously round 2 has happened and is still going on with St Kilda Freo playing as we speak. But it was obviously one moment dominated the round, didn't it? So we'll touch on that. But what were your overall thoughts on the round of footy?
Well, it's always good to have footy back. One round is just that, one round. I feel like you need 3 to 5 rounds before you can really start understanding what the storylines of the season will be. So we're one more round closer to that. But it's interesting, just some little patterns. You're not sure if they're starting to emerge or if they're anomalies. It's just so good. And there's been a lot of drama, the evacuation, Buddy, just drama happening. But there's never a dull moment. And that's the beauty of the game. It always provides something for you to talk about.
Even when footy is not in the limelight, as we saw with the evacuation, it's like, there's still always something to speak about. But we'll touch on firstly something that happened midweek, I'm pretty sure, and it was Dustin Martin, and he's taking personal leave. So it was announced during the week that he was withdrawn from the squad to versus the Giants today. What I'm assuming, I'm just saying, what are your thoughts on him taking personal leave? Obviously, we hope that he's given the space and the time needed so he's ready to play footy again. But what were your thoughts on it? I think is probably the best way to go attack it.
I just think at the end of the day, no one or not many people know exactly what the reasoning is. And I don't think it's important right now. It might be important, but I don't know what exactly has happened. Ultimately, we know the off-season he's had with the passing of his father and all sorts of things. And, I fortunately don't know what that experience is like. So you're mindful of him and his well-being. But I think one thing the AFL do very well is when these situations happen and a player needs some time off to clear their head or whatever the case may be, they do a very good job of, protecting the player's privacy and space. And I guess the media by extension of that as well. Not all the time, but most of the time with such situations, it's kind of like just let it go. Don't talk about it. Don't speculate kind of thing.
Yeah. It's important to do that because, the AFL players, but they're people at the end of the day. And it's about, just respect. Like if someone needs to take time, if someone needs to take time off work in any workplace, you give them that respect. So just because they're a footy player doesn't mean that respect needs to be scrutinized or there needs to be people talking about or speculating about why it's happening or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's something that, fortunately, it's not a regular occurrence. But when it does happen, like you said, it's dealt with. It's dealt with respect and the dignity that all parties involved need and obligated to have.
Yeah, I think it's a modern concept. Players taking leave for personal reason. I mean, maybe it's not so modern. Maybe it did used to happen. I just feel like it's a lot more prevalent now than ever, and that's because we live in a totally different world now with different pressures and different themes and different ways of being a professional athlete and even just a human. There's so much going on, so many distractions.
It's. I think now everything gets not blown up, but more publicity around it. Like every decision or every time a player is in the limelight, if you could call it that, for whatever reason, it's obviously given more publicity than it perhaps needs in some cases. But I think this, speaking about obviously why he took personal leave, but let's speak about him as a player. And I think I saw this midweek, or I saw this maybe the week before the season started. Where does Dustin Martin sit in the debate of the greatest of all time?
He'd have to be right up there.
Before we start, I think it's pretty undeniable that he's the greatest finals player of all time.
I guess so. I mean, we've only seen 20. You know, I'm born in 91. You're born,
04.
04. So we have only seen what we've seen. We weren't around to see how special some of the other finals performances were.
Yeah.
But I think the consistency over that stretch of time when they won the flags is just, it has to solidify him. Because I feel like a lot of the time with these greatest of all time debates, a lot of it, for whatever reason, probably obvious, but it relies on the accolades. It relies on the Norm Smith in this case. It relies on the number of premierships, and it relies on, how much they impacted every time they won the premiership. And he really was best on ground in each of them. So,
he's got 3 Norm Smiths, and personally, I think the one that's undisputable is the 2020 Norm Smith. He won them that game, single-handedly dragged them over the line. I think against GWS in 2019, you could have given it to pretty much the whole team. I think they all dominated, and maybe favoritism maybe had something to do with it, or just because he obviously won it in 2017. But I don't think that was particularly deserved in 2019. And 2017, I just remember Basher Hooley's game being out of this world. Like that was from I don't remember a lot from that game. But all I remember is just talking about how good Hooley was in that game. So, do you think that all 3 were deserved?
I think it's irrelevant, because I think the point I'm trying to make is whether he's best on ground or top 3 best on ground, he's proven in his ability to perform in those big games. And it wasn't just those grannies. I'm sure there's a few prelims and other finals in there that I'm forgetting as well, and other big Showtime games. So the question of where does he sit, I don't know, because I really haven't seen a lot of the history, unfortunately. And so, but I mean, just based off his resume, he'd have to be in that top, I don't know, 6-7 players to ever play.
Yeah, I reckon he's top 10 because maybe not the versatility, but the way he can damage in so many different aspects. Like you said, in those big games, he's a big game player. He's the definition of it. Yeah. And I remember in 2019. In the qualifying final, he played forward, kicked 6 against Brisbane, and again won them the game. And then he can go into the midfield and have 30 and get clearance after clearance. He's got that much just raw power that even if you get a hand on him, he'll just swat it away and he will just keep going. He's almost the archetypal modern midfielder. That maybe he's not as tall as, I don't think he's as tall as like a Bont or a Cripps, but he's just so explosive. And we went through a stage where it was your Mark Murphys, your Joel Selwoods, your Sam Mitchells, these midfielders, your Gary Abletts, who were maybe not as physically imposing, but were just so skillful. Now it's gone the other way of Dusty, Danger, Fife, Bont, Cripps, Petrarca, who were just these, they're full forwards playing in the midfield. And I think his success over the recent years is a good summation of the way the game's progressed.
Yeah. I mean, he's just got ultimate power. And what I love about him is he does it his way. Doesn't want to be doing too many interviews or too much of that. He just wants to go about his business. And sometimes we as fans can ask for players to be more than just footballers. Some of them just want to be footballers and leave the rest to everyone else, kind of thing. And I think the crazy part about him is, as good as he is, he's just as good at getting others involved and making others around him better and making that extra play as well. I mean, if you're a Richmond fan, you must be just so happy to have an all-time legend that has played for your club, and he's an all-time legend. And, footy's better when he's playing and when he's playing well. Not so different to Buddy, who we'll touch on at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure we will. But it's also good for Richmond supporters to have a superstar who's delivered. He's won 3 Norm Smiths, a Brownlow, 3 premierships. I don't even know how many All-Australians or other accolades he's got. But we'll relate it back to Carlton. You have someone like Patrick Cripps, who we adore, and hasn't really delivered the ultimate glory yet. Hopefully he will at some stage. But I think to be considered as a great of not only your club but of the competition, you have to deliver, and he's done that he's done that more than what Richmond's fans could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, do you remember the early stages of his career? You know, pick 3, big raps on him. They weren't sure about his tank and his engine. Not so different to the way they talk about like a Cam Rayner now, and I think that's probably where Cam Rayner gets a lot of his comparisons from to Dusty, because it was not dissimilar. It was, okay, can he become a midfielder? Does he have the tank? And then it became, well, he can be just as good as any midfielder, and he's still got this amazing forward craft. You know, he really kicked on with it.
Yeah. It was almost like he exploded on the scene in, 2017. I mean, but people forget in 2016, it was still very good. It was still very good. And even before that, I remember when the Tigers made that charge, was in 2015 when they won like 8 of their last 9 games or whatever it was. He was one of the key reasons for that, because they unlocked him and made this somewhat underperforming player to that point explode, and then he just kicked on from there.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what year Mark Williams came on board to work with him, but I feel like that was another very important addition to his career in terms of his team or his inner circle, because it's been widely reported by him and you know by the media that and Richmond that Choco Williams made a big difference to Dustin Martin's career.
Yeah, and we've already seen what he's done, what Mark Williams has done with Melbourne. Mm-hmm. So that would obviously have a key impact on him, and you could see his ball use, and especially now when he started winning the Brownlow and the premierships, has gone leaps and bounds of what it was before. Some of his kicking, especially like running at full speed, he's able to hit targets lace out. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what the audience does think, though. If you are someone that's seen a lot more footy than us, let us know some of the other all-time greats that you've watched and where they stack up.
You'd have to be top 10 of all time, right?
I think so.
If we had to say.
At least.
Where in the modern era, where does he sit?
Oh, in the modern era, he's the best player I've seen with Ablett. Like he's like obviously Ablett. Jeez, Gaz.
Yeah, I have Ablett above him. Just.
You know, it's that barbershop debate. Like if you had one game, pick, you know, if you had one game with all of these champions of the modern game, like Judd, Ablett, Hodge, Selwood, Dangerfield, Dusty, like who are you picking for one game? Fife. I think you are picking Dusty for one game.
If it's a grand final, there's no debate.
Yeah, that's where he gets this conversation started of where does he sit, you know?
Yeah.
But over the longevity is where the others come into play.
Yeah. I have Ablett just above him for a couple of reasons. One, because he played in an era where he got tagged, and he got tagged heavily. And he also went to Gold Coast, got smashed around, and played some of the best football I've ever seen. Like that, I think he won the Brownlow in 13. In 2014, before he got injured, that was one of the and obviously I was 10, right? But I've gone back to watch some of the games, and I've read about that season and watched highlights from that season. He looked unbelievable, and I think he had like 20 Brownlow votes, and he played half the season or something like that, or he didn't finish that far off in terms of Brownlow votes the previous season, and he only played half the year. And
it was shocking when McCaffrey tackled him that night, and he you know popped out his shoulder because he was on some kind of tear, and they were playing really good footy as well.
I think they were going to make finals. I think they only won 1 or like 2 games. Like I think it was like around 14 or something. He got injured. They only won 2 games till the end of the season. So you
They
could
were
see
humming.
just how good that
Yeah,
he was.
they were humming along.
I think they still end up winning that game without him, but he was so impactful, and it was. I was a little bit disappointed when he didn't win a flag at the end of his career. I thought it would have been a beautiful send off in 2020, but we saw Dustin Martin took the game and said, "No, I'm winning it. I'm winning my third Norm Smith." So I guess that's a debate that will live long in the memory and will continue having for a long, long period of time. And another person that is for sure going to be in that debate is Buddy Franklin. He kicked his 1,000th. You were wrong. Can I just say?
I was wrong, and you were
wrong.
right. I was wrong.
Yeah, it was. Where were you? What was your reaction to it?
I was watching at home.
Talk me through it.
I was watching at home. The commentary was interesting, and they were right in the sense of it didn't look like there was as much security. But ultimately, like, what are you going to do? Try and stop everyone from coming on the ground? Yeah. It was just more of a. I think, first of all, it's amazing to have seen it happen again. I really did not think I'd be seeing it again.
Yeah,
and then obviously they've surrounded him, and then like it just got to a point, probably 10 or 15 minutes, where he's still there. He's still in the middle of people.
Yeah.
Not everyone was able to get around him before the fans did. So it was just like an ultimate sandwich. And I can't even imagine what that would have been like for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would. Personally, I would have hated that. I don't know. I would have started throwing elbows by like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I would have been pretty angry. But he kept a smile on his face, and he seemed like he was just. I mean, it is a once in a lifetime moment for not only yourself, but for most people in a generation, right? So you kind of just want to soak it all in and embrace it.
Yeah. Look, it's good for the game. It's another one of those special moments that sort of transcends Australia, because Pat McAfee's already talking about it. I'm pretty sure it was on SportsCenter. Like it's that type of thing that goes viral and the rest of the world does see, so it's good for the game. And I like the way that we celebrate the champions in the game. It's still a sport that has a lot of growth left in it, and these are the important moments. And I think it's also good that in a way, I'm happy that it happened in Sydney, because that's a state that the AFL really want to get on top of in terms of the AFL and the footy market there. So to have moments like that, I think are important.
100%. With the fans running onto the ground, I can gather that you're a fan of it.
Yeah, I do like it. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a logistical nightmare. I can't even imagine what it's like with people working in the AFL, because all of a sudden, all they're thinking of is risk assessment. What could happen? What could happen? We're talking about tens of thousands of people on the ground, so many different situations. We saw Zach Tui knock someone down, keys get lost, phones get lost, something gets stuck in the ground. And then did you see the woman that poured the ashes on the middle of the ground? So people are waiting for their moment. It became a real spectacle. You got Joseph Adamo with selfie
representing Carlton.
Yes,
that was great.
What about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like, you just got to embrace it, because it's maybe it's not unique to the sport, because you see crowds running onto the ground, running onto various sporting grounds in various different countries. But when I personally don't think we'll ever see this milestone again. 1,000 goals is. I mean, I think I heard on Triple M not speaking about Jack Revolt is 700 behind, I think. Wow. And behind. No, 300 to go. He's on 700 goals. He's got 300 to go. And with the career that he's had, and some of the, he's won very, multiple Colemans, and he's played in a side that's won 3 flags. So it's going to take some player in some team or teams to reach 1,000 again. And because I don't think we're going to see it again, they should just enjoy it. I don't agree with the negativity around it. I understand things could happen, people could get hurt, but it's kind of like a fingers crossed. Let's hope nothing happens, and nothing did happen by all reports. Nothing major, anyway.
I think you just hope, you let humanity go and you let people be free.
Yeah,
and you hope that the right thing happens. And in this case, I'm pretty sure it did happen. Also, it's interesting because when Lockett did it, and the last time we had a real crowd running on the field. Well, I mean, Buddy did do it in 2008, but when Lockett did it, I don't think there were anywhere near as many people that came onto the ground. So, yeah, it's a very unique moment, and I'm glad that we're alive for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it was that thing of, like, my dad, like, tells me about, like, Lockett kicking 1,000 and, like, Dunstall and Ablett and all these guys kicking 100 goals every season, right? I was 4 years old when Buddy kicked 100, so I don't remember it. But yeah, it was good to just see it and just smile and just enjoy that like manic 15, 20 minutes. Which, did you see Chad Warner and I think it was Ollie Florent out the ground trying to get back in, which is, it just adds to it. I love it. Like, everyone's safe, no one got hurt from that we know of. It's good. It adds to it.
Humanity wins. Humanity did the right thing.
Oh yeah, it was such a joyful moment that I like. Maybe hindsight, you can say this, but I don't think anything. It would have been very unlucky and unlikely that something dangerous would have happened, or like something bad would have happened because of the nature of the moment. It's not as if, like. Also, it was good that Sydney had the game won by then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the other part as well, we're talking about warming up afterwards as well, and there's just so many variables that are added to the mix.
Yeah, I think it happened at the perfect time. The game was done, 5 minutes to go. It happened literally as, like, just before it started pissing down rain as well. It was just if the AFL could have planned it, I think they would have planned it like that.
I remember last time Andrew Demetriou coming out when Buddy kicked the 100 in 2008, and they put out this campaign, don't run onto the ground. They actually tried to scare people, and then obviously people called their bluff. Whereas I thought Gill did a pretty good job. Like, he obviously didn't go on air and say, yeah, everyone run on. He made it really clear that he's not really allowed to endorse that. But he also just made it very clear that, just be safe and just be careful. And I think that's a better way to go about it.
Yeah, he went about it the right way. I think he said on the front. I think he said on the front bar, he was like something along the lines of, "I'm not meant to say that you should run on the ground, but it'd be a good spectacle, in it." Something like that.
Exactly.
So I think he went about it the right way. I don't think that anything bad has come from it. So it's good that we finally got to see something that I don't think will ever happen again. Whereas you think that it will.
Yeah, it'll happen again. There'll be some freak of nature that comes in the next, couple of decades that freaks us out with their freakish ability. Big men get more agile as the years go on, and as the humans evolve. And I'm banking on history coming and shaking us up a bit.
We'll see. We'll bookmark this episode and we'll see who's right in maybe 50 years time, or however long it will take. Because
I've only got the rest of eternity to prove me right.
There you go.
I could be dead when it happens, by the way.
Oh yeah, and people will still come back to this episode. It'll be great. So yeah, moving on from a very joyful and joyous moment to a situation which was probably more bizarre than anything else. The West Coast Eagles pretty much had to field a waffle side against North today, because I think it was 13 players were out due to health and safety protocol. We spoke about it last week, obviously, because it happened with Jack Martin and Adam Chera, but we didn't really think it happened to this extent, did we?
Well, that was the fear. I mean, especially for us, when Jack Martin tests positive the day after and he's just played in the game the night before in round one. And my initial fear was, oh my God, we're going to be missing 8 of them or 9 of them, maybe 10. And it's just a really sharp reminder that it's going to happen. If it's happened to one club, chances are it's going to happen to another club. And again, this is why it's important to bank wins early in the season. I think it also depends on your opponent. I think a full strength West Coast probably beat North Melbourne today.
Yeah.
However, if they're coming up against, Melbourne at the MCG, and it happens when they're not even favoured, I think that's part of the luck and the timing of everything. But, it's coming. And, whether it's Carlton next week or the week after, whoever it is, it's definitely coming. And you just got to try and be prepared for it. But also there's a beauty in it, because all of a sudden you play guys that wouldn't have had a chance. Like Paddy Nash was sensational today. Yeah. He was excellent. You got Petreski Seaton was pretty good as well, had to step up. And then you get some other guys that wouldn't have gotten a game otherwise. I think Aaron Black was one of them. So it potentially gives you some exposure that you wouldn't have had to see otherwise to someone from the future that you're budding on. Like for us, Jack Carroll. I mean, if it had happened to us, you'd think someone like him plays.
Yeah.
And
it's going to sound weird, but you'd rather it happen now because the chances of it happening to this extent to the same club twice in the same season, pretty unlikely, you'd think. So, you'd think, and then we'll come back in 5 weeks and West Coast have to forfeit a game or something.
Yeah.
But you'd rather happen round 2 than around 22, right? Especially if you're contending for finals or top 4.
100%. I think the other part is the AFL made it very clear pre-season. The fixture will be played as it says, when it says. So they're committing to that. The debate might start about whether or not we should be postponing games, but I think it's important to set the precedent early. They did that. Everyone gets 20 extra players to pick from if it happens to their club. And, you just hope that somewhere down the track there isn't a postponement for a similar situation. I mean, every situation might be a bit different, but, it's a watch this space because it's going to come.
Yeah. Oh, and like we said last week, hopefully it doesn't hit bad or hit as bad as what we feared. I think this won't be the worst of it, like the worst that we're going to get from it. I think one team will have to. I think they'll be up to 20 health and safety protocols at least for a team personally. And I'm not saying they're going to be like first teamers or like locked in the 22, but I reckon we're going to see a side field the team this year with more top-up players than actual list players this season.
Yeah, I don't know. Why can't they just play? I mean,
yeah, I mean, there's that argument as well.
We're boosted. Like what? I don't know.
Where do we draw the line? That's the thing. It's like,
where do we draw the line? The variable. There might be another one coming. Who knows? Like you don't know what's going to happen. There's winter's coming. The flu or flu-like symptoms will probably perk up as the winter comes, and it's just one of those things. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah. And it also brings up a question of how many players pre-2020 played a game of footy with the flu or with flu-like symptoms that were potentially worse than if they got COVID and then they have to not play because they got COVID. It throws up a lot of logistical questions and questions about like what we're doing as a society. Like at some point, I think we're going to have to draw the line and be like, all right, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, like 2 years pretty much.
Yeah.
We have to move on. Is that like, do you say it the same way?
I think so. Practically speaking, absolutely. I think this is one of many diseases that can be deadly, one of many situations that can turn really sour and cause death, no matter how high or low the percentage of death is. And I think it just goes into a category of the rest of those diseases that I know it's a little bit more contagious in that sense, but I'm with you. Let's move on. Let's live with it properly.
Yeah. And I think the overriding question about the players not being able to play is, does it ruin the integrity somewhat of the competition?
No, because I think the competition is always at the behest of what's going on in the world. Like there are certain things that happen which just take precedence. And unfortunately, sport, as much as we like to hope, it's not everything. It doesn't run the world. The world runs, and then sport runs within the world. And its mechanics and its laws and its situations and whatnot. For example, the emergency evacuation with Collingwood and the Adelaide game, that happens. All of a sudden, the game stops. There might be a fire. There might be a hazard, So I think this is just one of those things we'll look back on in the history books, and it'll be the time that we played a couple of seasons, 3 to 4 to 5, however many, with COVID-ish rules.
Yeah. You're right, but I would kind of like to see it, but also not if this happens on the eve of grand final day or in the week of a grand final.
I know.
It will blow up. It will blow up. That's going to be some like PR nightmare for the AFL. If 6, 7, 8 players miss out grand final day that team gets pumped by 6 goals, and then it's like, oh, what are we doing now? Like,
Correct. It's like, do you postpone to save the sanctity
yeah,
of the grand final, and then all of a sudden you're taking away from the players who
yeah,
might have needed an
exactly.
extra week from injury to come back? It must be tough. It must be tough to run this league.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we think we can, but I very much doubt we could, as
Yeah,
much as we would want to. But
correct. We're just here to complain about what's wrong.
yeah, and not praise anything when it happens right. Moving to actual football now, because we haven't spoken
Yeah.
about that. Probably the most shocking game of the weekend happened Saturday night. Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. That blew me away.
I have started doing tipping videos this year. So I had a Hawthorn supporter after the game go back, watch my round 2 tips and remind me that the Hawks have ruined both my weeks. It was a shock. It was a big shock. It was funny. I'll tell a story because I was out with my housemate and we were looking at the scores and he turns to me and he says, that Michael Voss effect. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. And then literally 5 minutes later, you texted me the exact same thing. And from a Carlton point of view, that's the first place our mind goes. But, there's a few things that have happened with Port, some bad injuries, a bit unlucky on the eve of the season with Dixon and Fantasia and whatnot. And, they've been up there for a while. They haven't been able to win a flag or get too close. They've won, made a prelim or two. And the Hawks just shock the world. It's great.
Yeah, it's good for the competition because you don't want the odds-on favourites win every week. And it also brings up some shocks because everyone thought, well, who would have thought that Collingwood, Carlton, and Hawthorn would be 2-0 heading into round 3?
True.
It's true. Then the new manager bounce, as it's called in soccer, which is very applicable here. Maybe there's some like method behind that madness in a sense because we look like a completely different team to what we were last year. Collingwood look like they have their shit together, unfortunately, and Hawthorn managed to outplay Port over there. And despite having far less of the ball and having far less inside 50s and clearances, and they lost pretty much every KPI, they managed to roll them and pretty comfortably as well.
I always like to ask the question about how do you apportion a game where you say, oh, that was just a brilliantly coached game, as opposed to, how good were these players? Because Port didn't do a lot wrong from the stat sheet.
Yeah.
But when you watch the game, Hawthorn were efficient. Was it the way they were set up? Was it a tactical mastermind of a plan put together by Sam Mitchell? It's a good debate, and it creates a bit of a question what are the Hawks all of a sudden, you know?
I mean, you have to remember who they beat. They beat North in the first round, who, barring what we spoke about just before, probably would have been 0-2 going into round 3. And then you have us, and the reason why I bring this game up is for obviously 2 reasons. One, because of the shocking nature about it, but Carlton do play Hawthorn next week. It will be the first game not in prime time for us this season. It will probably be the first game where we come in favourites as well. So there's 2 dynamic changes which the players are going to have to get used to quickly.
This is a good point. I'm not taking next week lightly. I think in the past we've gotten a little bit too cocky with where we think we should be, and I'm not buying into, we should be beating Hawthorn by 10 goals if we're serious. I'm not buying into that at all. I just want 4 points every single week, So you've got to respect them and what they've been able to do. And you're right, they're riding a bit of a high. There's changes swept through. Guys have been reinvigorated. There's a new plan. They've bought into it. Both teams are 2-0, so they're really believing in their system. You can argue that we've played 2 better teams and our performances have been maybe more impressive given who we've played. And I actually even thought North Melbourne lost the game in round 1 against Hawthorn more than what I thought they won the game. Personally, I wasn't blown away by Hawthorn in round 1, but I was definitely blown away with them in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was from a Carlton perspective. I went to that game thinking, okay, if Hawthorn can, if we can see a clear avenue for success, that's probably what we're looking at as supporters. But it was weird because Port smashed them everywhere, and they still got rolled. Which, yeah, when the final siren went of that game, I was talking to my dad. I was like, well, what would the coaches take out of that game? Because it almost seemed like a freak game to an extent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those nights. You can't explain how it happened, but it happened.
Yeah. And I mean, from a Carl perspective, for me, I look to, obviously you're going to touch on this in your preview, I'm sure, but you look to the midfield, I think, because I personally have this just unwavering confidence with Jacob Wiedering and Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow that, barring a freak show, they're going to win their battles pretty much every week. So I look to that midfield, and I think a midfield of, presuming everything goes well midweek and there's no major outs or ins, you'd think, major outs, I should say, you'd think Chera, Walsh, Cripps, Kennedy, Hewitt can tackle that Hawthorn midfield, which didn't perform well as a unit by any means. Because, I mean, Wines had 39, I think. Bogue played well. And it was kind of, 39, I think it was as well. So, that's my key. That was my key takeaway from that game, from a calm perspective. Get on top of the midfield, get on top of the contested ball, win the clearances, and that will put us in the right stead, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, because you look at obviously it's not, the game isn't won in one facet of the game, if that makes sense. So you can't win clearances and then win the game, but we both are playing in a way which is riding a little bit off momentum. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I think it's a factor. I think us at our best of what I've seen in 2022, and Hawthorn at their best, I would back us in to beat them next Sunday. Yeah. You know, if I have that confidence in the group, obviously because I'm a supporter and I see the best in everything and I see the best in us. It's just going to come down to, it really is going to come down to who's better prepared for it. I'm not going to get too cocky about it.
For sure, yeah. And both teams and both sets of supporters will be looking at this game thinking, if we win 3-0, the season's on. And even from a Hawthorn perspective, I didn't really think many Hawthorn supporters thought finals was going to be on the agenda. Because they've not sacked the coach. They let go of their coach, and they're in pretty much a rebuild. So for them to be 3-0 would be some form of shift in their ambitions heading into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I wonder how they manage their expectations internally. Even us, if we're 3-0, what's the message Vossi's giving to the players? Because 3-0 means nothing in the grand scheme of 22 rounds or 23 rounds. And I think I feel like for young teams and for teams with a new coaching group who are riding that managerial high, the start of the season is always a good time. But it's the real longevity of it. Let's sort of come back and revisit this in round 13 and see if Carlton, Collingwood, and Hawthorn are playing just as well as what they did in the first couple.
Yeah, I think, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but with all due respect to Hawthorn, their 2 wins and their start has really reminded me, and you could say this about Collingwood as well to some extent, has reminded me a lot of 2016 under Brendan Bolton, where we were 6-6 or something, and people were like, "Oh, can we make finals?" It's and I think this is both applicable for Hawthorn and Collingwood. It's, can they ride that momentum all the way, or is it just almost like a sugar hit where they go well for the first 5-6 rounds and then it just all comes crashing down?
Time will tell. I think.
Right. I mean, you can't really say more than that because.
Yeah. Do you think Hawthorn will be a finals contender at the end of the season? Yeah.
No. I don't think Collingwood will be either.
What about the Baggers?
Oh, top 4.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's probably it for the Hawthorn chat. Moving on to the rest moment of the round, which, for those who didn't watch episode 1, basically every week we'll nominate a moment of the round, and then at the end of the season, you'll vote for the moment of the season, and then that will be the winner. So whoever it is, based on every round, will nominate something or someone or a coach or whatever. And and it was pretty cut and dry this week, just like it was last week. Buddy Franklin kicking 1,000. I mean, it's pretty unfortunate for Buddy, because Sam Doherty, what he did last week, probably is going to win it. You'd think.
I think so.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate for him, but I mean, I'm not sure he cares. But yeah, it was once in a lifetime moment, as we said.
It's made it very easy to pick. It's clearly the moment of the round.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that did happen. I mentioned the evacuation. Got Kruger up here. Nice little addition to the pies. Good to hear the Kruger chant as well.
Yeah,
they've got their own version of the Cruiser chant.
Yeah, definitely not stolen from somewhere.
No.
They can't come up with anything original, can they?
No, of course. That would require brains and creativity and smarts.
Yeah. I mean, I did like did you see the little dig in the banner to Cane Corns?
Yeah, I did like that.
That was good.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. And that is, love him or hate him, he's good for footy media. He does it in an American way. He pisses me off sometimes, but I always take a step back and realize I'm talking about it or I'm thinking about it, and it's because I'm talking or thinking about it that makes it good.
Yeah,
he knows
that's what media is these days. Is clicks, it's comments, it's likes, it's any, obviously that famous saying goes, any publicity is good publicity, right? So I think his career, especially in the last couple of years, has typified that saying.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're right. It is media. However, I think it's changing. I think it's going to change. I think it will evolve. I think the more of these fan channels that arrive, the better it will be for media in general, because people are starting to slowly move away from traditional media and move into new age media, because ultimately I couldn't care less if I get a click or a headline. We document our thoughts regardless of all of that. Yeah, views are a nice vanity metric, and they stroke the ego at times, and likes and all of that. It's not what's important. And I think that thirst to be first is going away, and I do see it a little bit now with fans. Want to get the scoop, and I want to be the person that has the mail, and I'll get a DM every week. Last week it was Harry Mackay. This week it was Wiedering. Some people messaging me saying, have you heard that Wiedering's out tonight or Mackay's out tonight? And it's like, the question will always be from me, who told you? And they'll be like, either one of two things. I either read it online, Big Footy, or a friend told my cousin who works at this and that, and like his sister's dog's third cousin, so I don't know. I'd rather react to what is, and that's what I think. That's why I think the sport's so good. It gives you the content to talk about. There's no need to be first. I don't care who breaks the story as much as what I care about the story being a good story.
Yeah, people want to be that guy.
People want to be that guy.
Story.
The girl, I've noticed the women that work in the media do such a good job. I was actually thinking about this the other day. Why don't we have more female reporters? We have them for the most part right now as hosts, and they do a great job. I think Sarah Jones is at the top of the game, but why don't we have more women in the getting the information and presenting it to us? Because I feel like the news breaking, and this could be completely off the mark, but I sense that the news breaking industry is a bit of an ego game, like who gets the best mail, and that's
it would be
dominated by males right now. I'd like to see a bit more professionalism with that. So few more females in that regard.
Well, I mean, they're already doing a great job. I mean, you look at maybe not breaking news, but like Daisy Pearce and other female, maybe like color commentators, if you to call them that, do a fantastic job. Like I think Daisy Pearce is one of, if not the best, special comments in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously maybe not a stigmatization of it, but it's a very systematic thing of it's a male-dominated industry, and females are, like you said, the hosts of shows and are there to not give their opinions, unfortunately. But obviously that should change, and I'm confident that it will change.
Yeah, it will. I think the more years we have the AFLW, the more champions that retire and emerge and potentially go on to create different pathways from themselves. Like, I mean, Aaron Phillips would love to be listening to Aaron Phillips talk about the game as well. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of the AFLW,
Yep.
the final happened today. Thoughts on that? Obviously, it's good to see Collingwood get absolutely spanked.
That was as good a news as I could have seen. I didn't watch the game, admittedly. I was watching the men, but it was good that they had the score in the bottom right corner. And
Yeah,
as I saw the Lions kick away, just a little smile on my face.
There you go. If they can't be good at two things. If they're good in the men's, they can't be good in the women's. That's how it works. And the first official AFLW game at the MCG in April 9th or April 2nd, I think. So that's, you want to say that the more eyes on the product, the bigger it gets.
Oh, I think it's a great opportunity for the women as well that are playing. Like, I think it's fantastic for them, and I imagine it will happen a bit more. Slowly. I mean, I wonder if we get to a point where, whether it's reserves or the women, because the AFLW season will be moving to August, I wonder if we're going to get to a point where they're bringing back the curtain raiser. Because, I mean, I just know myself and my behaviour. If the Carlton women are playing and the Carlton men are playing, I know that I will watch the men. You know, and that'll be my first priority to watch the men personally. And I just wonder if that would mean we try for a curtain raiser situation to make sure we're not having that choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting conversation because there's both very clear positives to it. Is that if it's on before the men, then the people are more enticed to go to the game early, and then they get to watch footy as well, which is good from a viewer perspective.
Yeah.
But the negative is that, like, who's going to sit through 6 hours of footy? It's like, if you come for the women, you're going to leave for the men, and then if you come for the men, you're not going to come for the women. Yeah.
I mean, look, think about it from, the gates open 2 hours before the game. If the gates are already open, you've got a game to watch. Will you go a little early? Maybe catch the second half. Maybe catch the last quarter. Get there a little earlier than what you would have, and maybe slowly drip feed more eyes on the game. Yeah, and I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah, I also think having more games on free to air is number one priority, because
that'll help.
I mean, that's for any sport. I mean, AFL is pretty established in this country. Well, maybe not this country, but in Victoria, especially in WA, it's pretty established in what it is, and in South Australia as well. So whereas not up and coming leagues, but leagues that are struggling for attendance, or leagues that are struggling for viewership or engagement, having the easy access to watching the games and engaging with the sport and the league should be the number one priority, rather than sticking it on Fox Footy behind a paywall.
Yeah, I think so too. I would imagine the AFLW season will be free to air.
Yeah, you'd hope, because from what we said, it'd be the best for the league.
Yeah,
I think that's it. Unless you have any final words, final thoughts.
Yes, mate. We didn't talk about the sexy new scoreboards at Marvel Stadium.
Sorry,
mate. I love them. I was actually sitting on level 2, right behind the goals, and from essentially the other side, they are the best thing that has been added to Marvel Stadium. I actually heard someone behind me saying that they're too small. I'm like, mate, do you know how big that thing is? They're huge. They're huge, and it removes the whole looking up to your, up to your right or up to your left and not seeing the full image. You can clearly see the game above you. I think they are a great addition, and I think they are just as sexy as what they were marketed to be.
Are you on Gill's payroll by any chance?
Mate, are you saying they're no good?
Oh, they're good, but it's a scoreboard.
Mate, it's clear as day. It's just got all the stats there. It's got a lot going on.
I want to see the one. I want to see the one in Sydney first. If I can go to a game in Sydney, then compare, because that's like 120 meters long or something in Sydney.
I just feel like when I saw it, I felt like, where has this been all along? It just fits perfectly. It just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really pay too much attention to it.
Mate, don't be so cynical.
But seeing Charlie Kerno kick 5 on the replay was good.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think there was anything wrong with the old scoreboard.
They're an addition too. So you still got the old scoreboard there. You got the screen there. You've just got this new one, bigger and shinier, and with their new lights. I think the other thing as well, the lights at Marvel, they're looking to be a little bit too bright. They've installed new ones for the year, and they've tinkered with them and the brightness, and you will see that they'll be a little bit. I think they'll be a little bit less bright next week. I mean, I went to the Melbourne Carlton preseason game, and that was really bright, and that was a big difference from there in round 2. And I think they might go down a bit. I'd love to know what the players do think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I that didn't cross my mind. So, I mean, it's a good talking point. I mean, you're an electrician now, which is good.
I'm watching everything.
You're watching everything. All right, I think that's it. Are we done?
Yep.
We're done. Yeah. All right. Thank you all very much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to the Blue Broad YouTube channel. Can't the Baggers.
Can't the Baggers, mate.